The role of the striker transformed dramatically as humanity said goodbye to the 20th century and entered a brave new era. The physical goal poachers of the 90s, whose main domain was the penalty box and whose main task was to get on the end of crosses and finish with any appropriate part of the body, players like Jurgen Klinsmann, Alan Shearer, Jan Koller, Luka Toni or Miroslav Klose were soon overshadowed by more mobile and versatile forwards. As tactics like the tiki-taka style gained prominence, so did the need for forwards who could contribute in more than one phase of play and could link up, dribble, cross or pass. The creative heroics of these players stole the spotlight from the man who always seemed to be in the right place at the right time to provide that killer final touch. A player who represented one of the last of its dying breed of forward was French striker David Trezeguet, a sensational finisher who took centre stage in some of modern football's most iconic moments, yet appears to have been criminally forgotten by many. Born in Rouen, France, to Argentinian parents, his father George was playing for FC Rouen when David was born. After the completion of his contract, they moved back to Buenos Aires with their 2-year-old son. He came through the academy at Platense and made his debut as a 17-year-old. He managed only 5 appearances with them before he signed with Monaco in 1995 after impressing manager Jean Tigana by scoring 5 goals whilst on trial. Apart from his height, pace and keen eye for goal, the most interesting thing about the striker was his natural two-footedness, with ambidexterity being rather a rare trait in young prospects. He was slowly introduced to the first team, making just 9 appearances across the 95-96 and 96-97 seasons before exploding into life in the World Cup year. Unleashed upon Ligue 1, he scored 18 goals in 27 appearances, a tally which included 1 hat-trick and 4 braces. He also impressed in Europe, scoring 4 and assisting 2 to help Monaco to the semis of the Champions League, where they would lose 7-3 on aggregate to Juventus. One of those goals was actually a strike which set a record yet to be broken to this day as the fastest travelling goal in Champions League history, a 157.3 km/h scorcher against Man United in the quarters. His emergence as a potent poacher saw his close friend Thierry Henry, who had already established himself in the first team and had racked up 78 appearances scoring 19, shunted out to the left wing. Both of the impressive youngsters were called up to the France squad for the World Cup 98, which was to be contested on home soil. Although not the star attraction by any means, in a squad with the likes of Fabien Barthez, Marcel Desailly, Patrick Vieira, Didier Deschamps and of course Zinedine Zidane, a young David held his own and was impressive. After coming on as a sub and scoring in France's second group stage match victory over Saudi Arabia, Trezeguet was awarded with a start against Denmark, where he won the penalty to allow Djorkaeff to open the scoring. He had clearly impressed coach Aimé Jacquet and played all 114 minutes of France's victory over Paraguay, chesting down Pires' cross into the path of Laurent Blanc, who fired home the golden goal. He had no problems taking and scoring in the quarter-finals penalty shootout win over Italy as France made it to the finals against Brazil. He never managed to get off of the bench but had the best seat in the house to witness a Zidane masterclass as Les Bleus won the World Cup for the first time. Returning to Monaco, Trezeguet continued to build upon his reputation as a goal-getter extraordinaire. His World Cup winning buddy Henry left for Italy, leaving David as the main man for his team, a role he fulfilled in the 99-2000 season as he plundered 22 in the league, comprised in part of 1 hat-trick and 6 braces, helping fire Monaco to the French First Division title. Such sparkling form obviously could not be ignored, and he was included in the squad for Euro 2000. He was used sparingly by coach Roger Lemaire though, not seeing any game time until Game 3 of the group stages, when he was handed a start against the Netherlands and diverted Wiltor's long-range shot into the back of the net for France's second. He warmed the bench for the quarters and only played 15 minutes of the semis against Portugal. He again started the final against Italy on the bench and was brought on in the 76th minute with France trailing 1-0. He had the desired impact, rising above the rest to knock Barthez's last-minute long free kick somewhat fortuitously into the path of Wiltor to send the final into extra time in dramatic fashion. In the 103rd minute of extra time, David Trezeguet scored perhaps the most famous golden goal in football history, adjusting himself and dragging his supposedly weaker left peg back to meet Robert Pires' cutback, which was played just a little bit behind him, to lash in a venomous shot which almost took the net clean off. As was his supreme talent, Trezeguet was in the right place at the right time and sealed an unprecedented World Cup and European double for the French, and he was hailed as a hero back home, where the fans will never forget what he did for them on that famous night in Rotterdam. Not surprisingly, Trezeguet was a man in demand, and in the summer of 2000 sealed a £20 million move to Juventus. Despite his exemplary goal-scoring record for Monaco, 52 goals in 93 league games, I doubt that the majority of the old ladies fans were overly excited by this move. Not the most technical player in the world, Trezeguet lacked the touch or skill to drop deep and gather the ball to link up play on a regular basis. He had also developed the reputation of someone whose goals came more from luck than talent, that he would take a swing at it, close his eyes and say a prayer that it would end up in the back of the net, a hit and hoper if you will. Not to mention that Juve were absolutely stacked. I mean chock-a-block with strikers. In addition to the world-class talents of Alessandro Del Piero and Filippo Inzaghi, they had capable backup in the form of Darko Kovacevic and Juan Sneijder. It was hard to see where a 23-year-old Trezeguet would fit in. An injury to Del Piero saw him handed a chance at the start of his debut season, and he took it well, scoring 7 in the first 16 league games before spending some time on the treatment table himself. After recovering, he took advantage of Inzaghi's poor form and finished the season strong, scoring 7 in the last 5 league games. From then on, he went from strength to strength and left behind this hit and hope reputation to become recognised as one of the smartest and most deadly strikers in Europe. A one-touch assassin, there was so much purpose, placement and power behind his strikes, which so often nestled into unreachable corners of the net. Not to mention, he was one of the best headers of the ball that I've ever seen. Being 190cm tall and strong was obviously an advantage in this regard, but the power and precision he was able to generate from even the most awkward of crosses or from the most unlikely positions in the box was remarkable. Combine this with his great anticipation and awareness and he was an awesome aerial threat. His 24 league goals and 5 assists were instrumental in Juventus winning the Scudetto in 2002. In his third season, he was plagued by injuries, but still bagged 9 in just 19 appearances as Juve won back-to-back Serie A titles. He also got 4 in the Champions League, including 1 in both legs of the semis versus Real Madrid as Juventus made it to the finals where they faced AC Milan. It was goalless after 120 minutes and Trezeguet set the tone for his team in the shootouts, being the first one to take a penalty, only to see it saved by Dida, a fate which would befall 2 more of his teammates, Marcelo Zalayeta and Paulo Montero, as AC triumphed 3-2 on pens and were crowned the kings of Europe. David continued to struggle with injuries but bang in the goals when he was fit and had established himself as one of the best strikers on the planet. Juventus won consecutive Serie A titles in 05 and 06, with Trezeguet scoring a stonking 23 in the league for the latter triumph. In the summer of 2006, the Calciopoli match-fixing scandal rocked Italy, with Juventus found guilty of being the worst defenders, and they were stripped of their 2 most recent Scudettos and relegated to the Serie B. This prompted a mass exodus of first-team talent. Fabio Cannavaro, Gianluca Zambrotta, Adrian Mutu, Zlatan Ibrahimovic, Lilian Thuram and Patrick Vieira all left the disgraced Italian giants. David Trezeguet was not without his suitors and could easily have joined the others in the departure lounge. Instead, he displayed a trait rarely seen in modern football: loyalty, and alongside Buffon, Nedved, Del Piero and Camoranesi, decided to sacrifice a year of his career playing at a level well below his standard to help return his team to the top. But before he could do that, he had the small matter of the World Cup in Germany to deal with. It quickly became apparent that he had been called up mainly as emergency backup. Coach Raymond Domenech played a system with only 1 striker, and Thierry Henry was favoured in this role. So Trezeguet made only 1 start, the final group stage match against Togo, as a Zidane-inspired France got all the way to the final against Italy. In the 100th minute, Trezeguet was brought on. You have to think that Domenech was looking for something different to unlock the stubborn Italian defence, or he was perhaps anticipating penalties and wanted the striker's expertise in this area. But 10 minutes after Trezeguet was brought on, and the whole world was stunned by Zidane's shocking act of violence against Marco Materazzi, and there was still a sense of disbelief when Trezeguet stepped up to take France's second penalty and missed. The man who was literally born to score goals had failed to do so from 11 metres. It proved to be decisive, as he was the only one to miss and Italy won the competition. He didn't have any time to dwell on it though, as there was the small matter of helping to return his club Juventus to their rightful place in the top flight of Italian football. And he did just that, his 15 goals in Serie B being absolutely crucial in securing the title and automatic promotion back to the top flight. Returning to the Serie A with a bang, he became the league's second top scorer, behind his buddy Del Piero with 20 goals. He would spend another 2 injury-hit seasons with the Old Lady, but failed to add any more honours to his list. He was released from the club in August 2010 and remains to this day their highest ever foreign goal scorer and 4th in their all-time top scorers list with 171 in 320 appearances, behind Roberto Baghetta, Gianpiero Boniperti and Alessandro Del Piero. He has the best conversion rate midpoint of the top 4 though, scoring 0.53 goals a game. It is no wonder that he is eternally known in Italy as Trezeguet. He spent a year at Spanish minnows Hercules, becoming their top scorer with 12, a tally which was not enough to help them avoid relegation from La Liga. After that, he moved back to Argentina and joined a River Plate side which had fallen on hard times, finding himself in Argentina's Primera B division. His 13 league goals in 19 appearances helped them to win the league and get promoted. On 20th of January 2015, he retired from football after a season playing in the Indian Super League. When we talk about natural finishers, they rarely come as instinctive or predatory as David Trezeguet. His nose for goal made him perhaps the most lethal in the 18-yard box of his generation. He also had a penchant for the spectacular, and his athleticism allowed him to twist himself into acrobatic poses to stick the ball away. In addition, he wasn't one of those strikers who only scored once his team was winning, as he so often bagged the opener for Juventus within the first 15 minutes. However, a couple of infamous penalty misses and the fact that he played a striking role which is often overlooked or oversimplified mean that not too many people mention the name David Trezeguet nowadays, which I think is a shame, as he was formidable.